In June 2026, Airfix released via Lidl exclusives a kit which was pretty much outdated in the 1970s. Instead of releasing it as part of the Vintage Classics range, they instead included paint, a paintbrush and some cement, and said it would be ideal for beginners. Well, I accepted the challenge and, on a live stream, built the Havilland DH.88 Comet construction kit with only the paints, paintbrush and cement supplied by Airfix, and this video documents my progress. There is already a designated unboxing video, so if you want to check that out then there should be a link appearing above, please do so. And a quick warning, if anyone is going to say, ooh, this would have been easier with some Revell contactor, or you should have used Tamiya extra thin, or why didn't you spray paint it, or something like that, don't. According to Scalemates, the original tooling date was 1958. That's what it states on the box, although if you look it up on Scalemates, it says 1957. I've taken Airfix's date as I would trust that over a user-updated website. There are 24 parts included, yep, that is it. Only one decal scheme, which is for the McRobertson Air Race of 1934 winner, Grosvenor House, and a recommended retail price, and in fact only a purchasable price of £6.99, exclusive to Lidl UK. Construction begins by putting the kit in the bin and spending your time more wisely. No, if only. I'm gluing the fuselage halves together and I'm using the poly cement straight out of the tube. Yes, you get more control if you put it into on a plastic bag or something and then use a cocktail stick. That would give you finer application. Yes, I would recommend doing that unless you are confident just squeezing it straight from the tube. I am confident just squeezing it from the tube, so that is what I have done. The downside is that if you slightly over squeeze, you get a massive splodge of glue, which obviously is not ideal. I did find that I needed to hold the fuselage halves together a fair bit to get them to stick because the front was bowing out slightly. And then the next job are the wings. However, one of the wings, in this case the starboard wing, sits a little bit too far back relative to the port wing, so I've trimmed a little bit of the tab off so that I can then slide the wing into a more symmetrical position. I believe the starboard wing is the problem because looking at the trailing edge of the wing as it joins the wing root, it looked fine on the port side, but it just looked a little far back on the starboard side, so that's how I guessed it was probably the starboard wing that was at fault. I have then been able to cement both of these wings, they're just one-piece wings, onto the fuselage that we assembled earlier, and can then work on the tailplane, which, like the rest of the kit, is incredibly simple. It's just one piece for the port and one piece for the starboard. Onto the engine nacelles, and I'm painting the interior with the supplied paint number 11, which is incredibly thin and not very metallic. Even after a couple of coats, this just wasn't very good, and I made a mistake. I probably should have put the undercarriage legs in first, but we'll get to that shortly. Note how the pilots are just two heads moulded onto the fuselage halves. Bit grim, but I'm painting everything black. I should have cleaned up that black splodge. That will come back to bite me on the backside. Again, more on that later. But I was just chucking this all together, as I've said, with the bits supplied. Now the canopy doesn't fit very well, so I've had to sand down the bit that joins the rear of the fuselage. And even then, when I'm trying to put it on, the pilots' heads are too tall, or the clear plastic is too thick. Either way, we have a slight problem, so rather than trim pilots' feet, which of course cannot happen on this kit because they don't have any, they're just disembodied heads, I've sanded the heads down. Yes, I've just attacked their heads with a file and removed them. Okay, I know a file wasn't included in the kit, but hey, that's a fairly easy to get tool, so I thought in this case I'll do that. So yes, I've removed bits of their head and then carefully applying the horrible tube glue, I can place the canopy down on top of their now flattened scalps. Back to the engine nacelles, which have now dried. I've had to scrape away some of the paint, so I probably shouldn't have bothered painting it, and then stick the legs in. I would recommend following the instructions and actually using your brain rather than what I did. I tried to glue the nacelle halves together at this stage, but the wheel needs to go in first, so do that first. I also encountered an issue with the front of the nacelle where there is a hole on one side. Obviously there's a hole for the propeller spinner, but there's a large bit of plastic missing, so there's no way the propeller blade's ever going to spin. So I've just glued the pin inside and then we'll glue the propeller blades on later. I don't care about them spinning anyway, really isn't a problem to me, but not good that the kit has a whopping great hole in the plastic. I'm guessing it's just due to the rather antiquated age of the tooling Once all of that wrestling had been concluded, I then glued the nacelle onto the main airframe, but I wasn't paying attention and put it on the wrong side. So I then detached it when it was still wet and moved it onto the correct side. The port engine nacelle was moulded better and did not have the sort of weird extra hole at the front. As such, I actually assembled it as per the instructions, using the pin into the back of the propeller first. So in theory this could spin. By then leaving this dry in between the two nacelle halves when you assemble everything together, you will end up, or could end up, with propellers that spin. I don't, because this glue is not very precise, so never mind, worth a try, I suppose. There's also a single undercarriage door on each side, which just sort of clumsily goes here in front of the wheels. No easy way of fitting it, I just glued it to the front of the wheel in the end. We're now moving on to painting, and of course I'm using number 19 as supplied in the set. All of these paints were thoroughly mixed, although none of them required any water for extra thinning, so they were all usable, so full marks for Airfix for actually supplying usable paints. Unfortunately, the red doesn't really have the opacity that I wanted, and all of that black that was running over because of me painting the canopy and the cockpit area in such a lazy way, yeah, that took a lot of coats of paint to cover up. You know, in all, I think the entire aircraft had about 4 coats of this paint, and I scraped away and painted where possible around the black at least 6 or 7 times. There's also absolutely no canopy framing whatsoever, so the same Humbrol number 2 brush is being used to paint roughly where the frames should be. Just eyeballing it, basing it on the instructions, so it's probably not quite right, but hey ho, if it's what Airfix want you to do and expect beginners to do, then I guess that's what I'll do. I will also just quickly mention that I did sort of do some filling. There was a bit of a gap on the wing root underneath, so I just used plenty of the horrible tube glue poly cement, just flooded the gap a little bit, smoothed it out, waited for it to dry, did that a couple of times, and it sort of melts it enough to at least remove the worst of the gap. It's obviously not as good as using filler, but if you see what look like different colour variations on the plastic, that's what caused that. Learning my lesson about the number 11 being horrifically thin and horrible, I've actually painted the propeller blades and spinner assembly in black, using that as an undercoat. I can then paint the front surfaces of the blades and the spinner assembly silver, leaving the back edge of the blades black as per the instructions. In an ideal world, I would have a smaller brush than a number 2 to do this, and a larger brush than the number 2 to actually do the main paintwork, but because they've only supplied one brush, I only used one brush. Is it perfect? No. Still, because it's a gloss finish, it's going to make decaling nice and easy. So, the Cartograph decals, which are the best quality, by far the best quality bit of this kit, have been dunked in water and can then be placed as per the instructions. And the instructions are on the back of the box, as in the decal placement and painting instructions are on the edge of the box. And I'd like to point out that the time that I bought this kit, this exact scheme had been released for 68 years. 68 years Airfix have been making a model of Grosvenor House. So let's take a look at those painting instructions. Look, registration, GACSS, 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 G-O. What? Where's the A? Well, I know it's only a small thing, but I really didn't expect to see an error on something that has been essentially reprinted for nearly 7 decades. The actual decals themselves are correct, of course. They do have the registration as it should be, G-ACSS, and this was placed on underneath the white cheat line, which really does make this aircraft look good. And honestly, prior to the decals going on, this really was only good for the bin, but giving it these good quality decals suddenly makes it actually look okay. I'm not going to say it looks good, I'm just going to say it looks okay. I do think I placed the registration a little bit below the line. It probably should have been a little bit closer up, but oh well. Never mind, kit's kind of the wrong shape anyway, so it doesn't really matter. The decals that go on the top and bottom surfaces of the wings are quite large. I would suggest taking extra care with them because they are liable to fold. I wasn't being particularly careful when I chucked them on. By this point, which was no longer on stream, I just wanted to get this bloody thing done, to be honest. And on the underside, one of the letters did split. I am, however, going to put that down to me and the way I was handling them rather than the decals themselves. I don't think it's really fair to blame them. With all of the decals done then, I'm calling this kit complete. Before I go into too much detail, I want to explain my decision to make this as a starter set build rather than putting in all the time and effort. And it's quite a simple decision really. It isn't worth the time and effort. It's very clear when you open the box that this is an old, crude kit. And yes, you absolutely can make a good looking Comet out of it by just basically replacing the entire nose section with filler and scratch building a cockpit interior and all of that other nonsense that I simply don't have time for. So if I try to put in the normal amount of effort that I would put into this, I make sure that it's primed properly, I make sure it's filled where possible, you know, the gaps, there's not too many gaps showing, whatever. If I put in effort doing that, I would be disappointed, because the best I reckon you can do is a reasonably polished turd on a shelf, and I don't want that. Whereas by building it as a starter set build, I'm changing my experience to be a little bit of nostalgia over the days of brush painting models as opposed to airbrushing models, and closer to how it was marketed. Now, I'm sure there are going to be people saying, oh, well, it was really meant as a Father's Day gift. I don't care if that is true or not, or whether I or you even believe that or not, because I've taken it from the website. It was marketed as a beginner model. So I'm taking it as somebody sees, oh, look, this is ideal for beginners, and builds it as a beginner. I feel it's truer to the way it was marketed, whether that was how it was intended or not. And to that end, I didn't really dislike the building experience. I'm not going to say I enjoyed it. I certainly wouldn't go out and do this again with the Comet, but I didn't dislike it. By doing the majority of the build on a live stream, I could entertain myself with conversations with my wonderful viewers, the people that were engaging and laughing along with me and feeling the pain of me building a model which, let's face it, shouldn't be around in 2026 except for in car boot sales or buried in an attic somewhere. So I myself feel like I did the best I could experience-wise by building it as a starter set on a live stream. In terms of the kit then, it's old and crude, that much is very apparent. The fuselage doesn't quite go together properly, the shape is wrong, it's supposed to have a clear nose tip with some lights in it. I've just put a dab of silver paint on it because, well, that's better than literally nothing, which is what Airfix give you. There's no cockpit whatsoever. The pilots are just disembodied balls stuck to a flat surface. There's very minimal wheel well detail. It's actually more than there is cockpit, of course, but there's still really just a couple of legs sticking out. The wheels themselves don't look very accurate. There is absolutely no engine detail whatsoever, and as such, this is not a kit I can recommend to anyone wanting a model of the DH.88, because whilst it is technically a DH.88, there are better alternatives out there if that's what you want your end result to be. So who is this designed for then? Who would I recommend this kit to? If you're someone who wants to look smug on a Facebook group going, oh, these kids today don't know they're born, look at this, it's easy to make a model, all you need to do is just rebuild 90% of it and scratch build the other 10%, then fine. Yeah, build it, make it, brilliant. If you built one of these in the past and you just want it as a hit of nostalgia, yeah, fine, whatever. If you are anyone else, steer clear of this kit. It should not be available in 2026. The fact that this is marketed not as a vintage classic, but to just general shoppers in Lidl is outrageous. Quite frankly, releasing this on the unassuming public is pretty disgusting, and I'm struggling to think of a worse brand ambassador for Airfix if this is going to be people's introduction. In terms of reviewing my own model, my own attempt at it, obviously yes, it would have been better had I airbrushed it, and I probably would have gone for a better red paint. I absolutely would recommend priming the thing in white as well, rather than just painting red over red plastic, but I don't think I did too bad a job. I think I've done well at polishing the turd as best I can. Being restricted to just a Humbrol No. 2 brush certainly didn't help. It has left brush marks all over the place, and my balls up with the black paint under the canopy also has left a few splodges because there's now thicker red paint in those areas whilst I tried to patch it up. So yeah, definitely could have done better, but overall I would give myself a solid I could have spent my time better out of 10. Thank you very much to everybody who joined me on the live stream of this. I don't intend to be live streaming very regularly. Keep an eye out for posts if I do decide to. You can, however, subscribe if you haven't already, and you can put the notification bell on to be alerted of when videos go live. If you've liked this one, give it a like. If you've disliked it, give it a dislike. And you can also become a channel member like the people appearing on screen. Channel members are privy to updates and spoilers as to what's on my desk, including the 2024 tool ClearProp DH.88, which, yes, will feature on the channel very soon. There's already been an unboxing at the time of the release of this one, but the build is coming along nicely at the time of recording this, and channel members will probably already know by the time this video goes live that I've finished it, if I have indeed finished it. So if you're interested in spoilers, occasional polls and things like that, just some exclusives, then by all means become a channel member. If not though, the best thing you can do to support the channel is just continue to watch the videos. So thank you very much for making it this far. I will hopefully see you again in a future one, and keep your eyes peeled for ClearProp DH.88 and Airfix DH.88 comparisons soon. And you never know, maybe one day the kit I featured in this video will indeed appear in a Mr. Craft box. Until then, thanks for watching, and goodbye.